What's going on, everybody? This is Arcade. Welcome back to another video on Marvel Contest of Champions, and today we're taking a look at our next episode in the Stud or Dud series featuring Ronan. Now, Ronan is a pretty underwhelming champion. I'm not gonna lie, this character does not have a leg to stand on, even considering him in his own class. When you compare him to some of the most biggest damage dealing champions such as Corvus Glaive, Captain Marvel movie, Hyperion, Medusa, Venom, and even champions like Carnage, who may not be at the top of everyone's list, but when you compare him to a champion like Ronan, even those characters seem like pretty god tier options to rank up, right? But Ronan has something interesting up his sleeve. Right here, as you can see, his signature ability says that he has the ability to increase the duration of stun on the opponent based on how many buffs they have. Now, right at the start when you read this could actually go unnoticed, but if you take a look at his abilities below, each of his special attacks has a 100% chance to stun the opponent. Now you add that 100% chance to stun for 2 seconds with something like the Petrify or Stupefy Mastery, which is going to increase the duration of the stun even more, plus the increased duration from his signature ability. Now we have something really interesting to take a look at. So throughout this fight, we are going to be testing it out and seeing what exactly this signature ability looks like. Now before we do, let's take a look at Ronan on a standard fight. Now we're taking a fight against Red Skull here. It's just a standard duel. We're not taking him against something like Realm of Legends Winter Soldier because his damage is so bad that I really couldn't get myself to do that fight. So right here, as you can see, each heavy attack is converting Red Skull's armor buffs into a armor break debuff. Now this is one of Ronan's abilities. He can actually convert armor ups into armor breaks. However, each of his hit is actually sort of true damage, as it says in his description, which means he doesn't really need those armor breaks, but it helps increase his damage. But honestly, dude, that damage increase is nothing because his base damage is so bad that this champion really isn't meant for a standard fight, which is why we're taking him into deep Act 5 content here. So right here, as you can see, we are in Act 5.4 and we are going to be taking the resistor path. Now, if you're not familiar with the resistor node itself, basically what it does is every time you land a physical hit on the opponent, it is going to give them a physical resistance buff, and this buff can stack up to 10 times, which means they are going to be having 10 buffs on them once you get 10 hits landed on the opponent. Now let's add that with this interesting mechanic Ronan has to stun on his specials. So as you can see, we dropped our first SB1, and before Luke Cage can actually recover from that stun, we have another stun. And as you can see, this cycle seems to be continuous. Before the opponent can even recover from their stun, we have enough power in our special bar that we can launch and spam these special attacks back to back, which means the opponent's abilities are practically shut down for the entire duration of the fight, and no other node on this fight actually matters. We are just going to stun lock them permanently and we're going to be smashing into them left and right until they go down. Now let's move on to the next fight and see if this is actually something that's possible with every single champion, which honestly, based on the node itself, it is, dude. So we're taking on Abomination. So ideally you want to have a poison immune champion for this path, but Ronan being a cosmic champion and having that Kree physiology, he's actually immune to poison, which is really good, and it comes in handy in this particular fight, in many fights like this actually. So as you can see, we land our first SP1, and right there the fight is over practically for us. For the rest of the fight, Ronan can just smash into the opponent. And as you can see, his damage isn't the worst thing in the world. He is only a rank 4 champion, and his Sig ability actually allows him to increase the attack, the base attack that he has, with his Fury based on how many buffs the opponent has. So my Ronan is just Sig 10, which means that his ability to scale his damage can actually go way up if his signature ability was higher. Now let's take one last fight in this path, and we take on Hulkbuster here. Now Hulkbuster has been updated, and after his buff, his armor ups actually land shock debuff on us. Now Ronan is not immune to shock, but Hulkbuster's shock itself isn't as strong, which means it's not going to be dealing a lot of damage. However, once we get our first SB1 out of the way, we don't care about any of Hulkbuster's abilities. That was 11k crit on that special attack, and Hulkbuster is dead, dude. That was a really quick fight once we got lucky with the special attack critting. And now we move on to Act 6. That's right, we are in Act 6.3. This is the Havoc chapter, and as you can see, we have that spicy resistor node again, which means that this character himself is not just good for one single path in one single quest. The resistor path is very notoriously available across the battle realm. It's made its way back many times. In fact, this month's Cavalier difficulty also has a resistor path, which means that Ronan is always going to have some kind of utility. Now we're going to be taking our first fight here, which is going to be Black Bolt. Now Black Bolt by himself is not a difficult champion, and if you take a look at this path, there weren't a lot of difficult champions to begin with. However, by the end of this path, we have a 6-star Hyperion and the champion. Now both of those characters are really difficult to fight if you don't have the perfect counter, and even with the perfect counter, you can't reliably power lock Hyperion as well as you'd like to, and with the physical resistance, the damage you're dealing to Hyperion is also going to be greatly reduced. And same deal with the champion, you can't always guarantee that nullify to stick, and even though you might be able to consistently lock down that fight, when you have a cheese available such as Ronan right here, you just don't have to worry about any champion's ability whatsoever. In fact, you don't even have to worry about what global node this path has. You don't have to worry about how much power the opponent has. You don't have to worry about anything, man. This character is such a beautiful Swiss Army knife character that you can just pull out and you can just smash opponents with massive buffs, man. In fact, this Act 6 chapter also has a Captain America, which previously before the Act 6 nerfs had a node that gave him a bunch of fury buffs, which made Ronan an absolute treat for that fight. Now that fight doesn't exist anymore, however this path still does, which means that Ronan is going to be a very good option for you. Now we take down that Black Bolt and we're moving into the next for the rest of the path basically, and as you can see, each of these characters just go down easier than the previous one. Now we do have a couple of fights that we need to time perfectly, like Phoenix's regen here. However, that stun duration is pretty long, man. You don't have to worry about having misstepped that. As long as you play it a little bit cautiously, you're going to be fine. Now right here again, we just timed it perfectly so that Hela's indestructible landed perfectly with our stun, and Hela also goes down. Now we have a Heimdall next, who also could have been a pain if while baiting his SP2, since they're unblockable if he has the armor up buff. We have a Hyperion with crazy power gain, and we have the champion who has these crazy unstoppable buffs, but none of those matter because this character can just walk all over them. Now, would I like this ability to be used in every single fight in the game? Absolutely not. I think the game would be dead boring if something like this happened. However, every now and then when you're dealing with 100 difficult fights while exploring Act 6, something like this cheese that is available to you actually brings in a lot of fun into the quest, man. It actually gives you something new to have fun with, something you can just play around with, something you can just cheese and be like, this was a cool quest, man. And I think for those reasons alone, Ronan is definitely a stud. This character might not be someone you pull out every time you're starting a quest, but I can definitely tell you that as long as this character has a place in the game, this character is going to be a stud in my book. So that's all I have for you guys in this video. I hope you guys did enjoy. Let me know what you guys think about Ronan as a champion and whether or not you would consider ranking your Ronan up to rank 5. We are coming close to the end of this series now with just 2 more classes left. Let me know if you can guess what the Mystic Champion is going to be in the next video. And that's all, you guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.